The sirens from the factory across the street had barely faded when 8-year-old Marina Caldwell pressed her forehead to the frosted window, whispering a silent wish into the pale, wintry morning. It was daytime, yet the sky hung low and colorless, as if even the sun was too tired to climb. Her mother was in the kitchen counting coins that refused to grow, her hands trembling each time she reached the end and realized nothing had changed. Their heater coughed in weak, uneven bursts. Christmas was just 3 days away, but the apartment felt like a place where Christmas had forgotten to knock. And that was the moment Marina made her choice. She would send one last letter to someone she'd only ever heard whispered about at her mother's old job. Someone powerful, unreachable, but rumored to be generous in ways nobody saw coming. She wrote in shaky pencil, "Santa at the corner office, North Tower, Brightline Industries. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts." Marina had never known the man behind Brightline Industries, but her mother once cleaned the corporate offices before the layoffs, before grief and recession took everything at once. All Marina knew was that the CEO's office sat high above the city, surrounded by glass that reflected the sky. She imagined Santa didn't always wear red, maybe sometimes he wore a suit and carried heavy secrets no one else could see. Marina sealed her letter with a tiny sticker of a snowflake and walked it to the corner mailbox herself, humming a carol under her breath so she wouldn't hear how loudly her stomach growled. Miles away, on the top floor of North Tower, Julian Strathmore sat alone in his office. His employees whispered that he had become a ghost of himself since his wife Ilara died last spring. Once cheerful and endlessly involved in charity, he now moved with a heaviness that clung to him like a shadow. The daylight through the floor-to-ceiling windows washed him in cold brightness that made his grief feel more visible. He worked late, arrived early, and spoke to almost no one unless required. But on that particular morning, when the mail cart rattled through the executive wing, something small and pale blue slipped loose from a stack of contracts and landed beside his polished shoe. A child's envelope. Addressed boldly, "Santa at the corner office." Julian almost returned it to the cart. Almost. But something about the crooked snowflake sticker and the faint smudge of pencil dust made him pause. His throat tightened unexpectedly. He tore the letter open, breath catching at the tiny handwriting, the simple words asking for nothing flashy or extravagant. Marina wrote of wanting warmth for her mother, who worked too hard for too little. She hoped for a scarf to keep her mom from shivering at night. She wrote that she tried to be brave when the power shut off, but sometimes she cried quietly so her mother wouldn't hear. She ended with, "I know you're not the real Santa, but maybe you know him. Or maybe you're very busy. But if you can, please help my mom smile again." Julian's vision blurred. He set the letter down gently, as though it would break. For the first time in months, he felt something other than numbness and ache that wasn't grief but a calling. He made a decision with the certainty of a man who had once promised his late wife that he would never close his heart completely. Down in their small apartment, Marina's mother, Kyra, struggled to stretch a can of soup into something resembling lunch. She had taken on extra shifts at a laundromat, but illness had struck her last employer and cut her hours again. When a soft knock echoed through their hallway, she nearly ignored it, assuming it was a delivery for the neighbor. But the knock came again, steady, polite, out of place. Kyra opened the door with caution, and the world seemed to tilt for a moment. Standing there, framed in the washed daytime light, was Julian Strathmore himself. Not wearing the cold expression she had seen months ago, but something gentler, almost apologetic. He carried 2 large gift bags in one hand and a folded envelope in the other. He introduced himself quietly, almost awkwardly, and explained he had received a letter addressed to Santa at the corner office. Before Kyra could process the words, Marina peeked out from behind her mother, eyes widening as if she'd summoned magic itself. Julian knelt to greet her, holding out her letter. He didn't pretend to be Santa, he didn't talk down to her. He simply said, "I read this, and it mattered to me. Thank you for reminding me what kindness looks like." The bags he brought contained warm coats, blankets, food vouchers, a small heating unit, and a hand-stitched scarf made by his late wife and kept all these months in a cedar box. He hesitated when offering it, explaining its meaning, but Marina touched it reverently and said softly, "Then it will keep us safe. Like a hug from someone who loved a lot." Julian had to blink several times to steady himself. Kyra tried to refuse anything too costly, but Julian shook his head gently and insisted. He explained that Brightline Industries had been undergoing restructuring, and he hadn't realized how many good people had been affected in ways he could have prevented. He admitted he had been lost in his own grief. Kyra softened, understanding pain when she saw it. Sometimes broken hearts recognized each other without a word. Julian didn't stay long, but before leaving, he asked Marina if she would show him the drawing taped to their refrigerator, a crayon picture of a tall glass tower wrapped in Christmas lights. She beamed as she explained she imagined Santa lived somewhere high so he could see who needed help below. Julian promised he would repair what he could, starting with the people he had unintentionally left behind. Over the next week, Brightline quietly launched a relief initiative for former staff. Anonymous scholarships appeared for struggling families. Heating programs and food boxes arrived with no signatures attached. But in one small apartment, the miracle felt personal. Julian visited again, not with gifts this time, but with the simple warmth of a man rediscovering his purpose. In daylight, their once chilled home now felt alive again, as though hope had finally remembered their address. And for Julian, Marina's letter had done something he didn't realize he needed. It cracked open a door inside him he thought had closed forever.